Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker is said to have many different connections to both the prequels, the originals, and even other forms of canon material that falls under the Disney era of the Star Wars franchise. This is Mike Zero. If you guys are new to the channel, do make sure to subscribe to see future Star Wars content. Now, one thing about this movie that a lot of people are really looking forward to is, of course, exactly how J.J. Abrams is going to utilize all of the different connections to past Star Wars movies, as well as the comics, the books, the novels, you name it. Now, we also know that JJ is using this movie as a way of opening up great possibilities of the future of the Star Wars franchise when it all comes down to the new Star Wars trilogies, the live-action TV series, you name it. Now, these past couple of weeks or so, we've been learning a whole lot more about this film, and when it all comes down to one of the concept art descriptions, this is where things begin to get very exciting. Now, specifically, a description of both Rey and Kylo Ren walking through a dark environment, where it's said that they are walking on a metallic bridge. It's said to be a sequence as if Rey and Kylo are walking through space in complete darkness. The next goes over Rey and Kylo beginning to hear two laughs in the distance, where it's described that two hooded figures appear before them. It's described that these two figures are distorted and obscured. However, the one on the right is said to be a vision of Supreme Leader Snoke, where on the left is the first look of Darth Plagueis for both Rey and Kylo Ren. It's said that both the Snoke and Plagueis figure are reaching their hands out toward Kylo and Rey in a menacing way before they begin to vanish, leaving trails of particles that lead to other visions of Palpatine as well as Darth Vader's breathing heard in the distance. It's said that during this sequence, Kylo is holding a device that is glowing red, which could be a Sith holocron. So I really want to go over a couple of parts about this. Now, we do know that J.J. Abrams is really introducing a lot of new Jedi and Sith lore that has never been explored before on the big screen and has been explored in, of course, other forms of canon like Star Wars Rebels. But not just that, we also know that JJ is really going to bring in new mediums of the Star Wars franchise. And what I mean by that is, he is going to bring a whole nother level of Star Wars. A great example is, if you look at Star Wars Rebels, Dave Filoni, he really changed the game by introducing the worlds between worlds. And I'm really starting to believe that this is exactly where both Kylo Ren and Rey are, unless this is one big vision of both Kylo Ren and Rey going through a vision of the holocron that it's providing. Now, like I say, this device, we're not quite sure if it's a holocron per se. It's just an object that glows in a red hue. And if you think about Sith holocrons, a lot of them do glow in a red hue, let's face it, right? So when we look at Star Wars Episode 9, the fact that JJ is also trying to lightly introduce the character of Darth Plagueis in this movie, it really does bring up the question, could it very well be that at the end of the day, the new villain is going to be Darth Plagueis served under a different identity? Because we do know that the new villain in Episode 9 has gone through many different identities. So this new villain, in case you guys did not know, we're not quite sure who portrays him. I got a pretty good idea of who it is. It most likely is Matt Smith. Some international Star Wars websites, in case you guys did not know, actually confirmed that Matt Smith is still connected to this movie. There was a lot of talk that maybe he was cut out of the film, or maybe he was never attached to the movie, but he indeed is. So what's really intriguing to me about this vision sequence is that both Snoke and Plagueis are besides each other, where both of them are reaching out toward both Rey and Kylo Ren before they begin to vanish, basically guiding them through this vision, it seems. So why would both Snoke and Plagueis be next to each other? That part, I'm not quite sure. It makes a whole lot of sense. Could it very well be a hint that maybe, and just maybe, Plagueis is indeed the one who transferred his essence into the body of Supreme Leader Snoke? Very possible. So when we think about Episode 9, we do know that Palpatine is really going to be a huge focus in this movie, and that's where I'm starting to scratch my head as to why JJ would even want to introduce Snoke in an actual different form other than a statue that we have been going over for these past couple of months, give or take. So what's really intriguing to me the most, though, is, of course, what device is Kylo Ren holding in what's described here? It's said to be an object that glows in a red hue. I have a pretty good idea that this most likely is a Sith holocron, otherwise, why would they be seeing visions of Supreme Leader Snoke, Darth Plagueis, the laughter of Emperor Palpatine, and eventually visions of Palpatine, and even Darth Vader's breathing? Now, we've been going over this environment for the longest time now, for a good 7 months, about this dark environment that both Rey and Kylo Ren go through, where it's very similar to that of the Worlds Between Worlds. In Star Wars Rebels, this location, the Worlds Between Worlds, was a spot in which Ezra was able to essentially save Ahsoka Tano from Darth Vader from a moment in the past. So, what I really am starting to think here is that this is J.J. Abrams really stepping the game up here for Episode 9 and introducing his own version of the Worlds Between Worlds. So it may be similar, but I don't think it's exactly the same of that we actually saw in Star Wars Rebels. So anyways, guys, drop a comment below. Let me know what you think about all of this in the comments. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, do make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.
From night to moon, we hear them moans again.